We are basically born naked, alone, and in terms of our mind, empty in this world. So we have no choice but to rely on history and what our ancestors tell us has happened in the past to construct our identity, our understanding of ourselves right now. And the identity that we have actually shapes our entire vision of the world and determines in a gigantic manner how we will act in the future. So history shapes us, but the idea here is that our society is obsessed with the official story. So there is one vision of history, there's one account of what happened, and questioning that account basically lands you in the camp of being a conspiracy theorist. And in our world, being seen as a conspiracy theorist is an extremely negative connotation. But why don't we applaud conspiracy theorists? If the official story is 100% right, as it is claimed to be, then should we not applaud people who try and improve our understanding of given events? So whether it be 9/11 or JFK or the arrival of the Europeans in North America, whatever it is, we have an official understanding, but if conspiracy theorists go out of their way to try and disprove what actually happened, but then they stumble and discover along the way new information that had not been considered before in the official story, then shouldn't they be applauded for this? Isn't this a good thing? I don't understand why in our world conspiracy theorists are viewed in a negative way. They wear tinfoil hats and they're crazy. I actually see it in a different light. I see it as they're people who are unsatisfied with a stagnant vision of the past and who seek to improve it as best they can. Now, of course, all conspiracy theorists aren't the same. There are some pretty extreme conspiracy theorists out there like Alex Jones and the bunch who think that absolutely everything is a government conspiracy. But there are other people who are just normal people and who dare question the official story. The thing with conspiracy theorists, as I'm sure some of you out there know, is that they are always wrong until they are right. And then once they're right, it's like, oh, well, I guess the conspiracy theorists were right on this one, but they're wrong on everything else. Why can't we, instead of having the idea of this guy's right and this guy's wrong, why not be like, well, this guy is right for now, but maybe this guy will come up with better information that will reshape and change our understanding of history and in turn ourselves and the world. I don't see what's negative about that. We know that the official story can be flat out wrong. It's not because a certain group of people who are in power, like a government or a school or whatever else, it's not because they say that something actually happened 100% that way that we have to believe it. And I'll give you a perfect example of this. In Saudi Arabia, in Afghanistan, in Iran, you know what the official story is? Islam. They believe that Muhammad received a divine revelation from an angel while in a mountain, and that God's book was revealed to Muhammad, and then through subsequent people, he wrote the Quran. He memorized it there. Other people wrote the Quran. But we don't believe this. In North America, we actually ridicule this belief. It seems outlandish to make this the official story. So it's not because a group, a massive group of people, or a government, or a religion that they say that something is an official story actually makes it so. And don't forget, the official story is written by the historical winners, usually. So let me give you a good example of this. Going back to the classic Hitler example here. Hitler is viewed as being the reincarnated devil, if you will. And he was a bad guy. I mean, if you look at what we have of history, he did awful things, granted. But did you know that in 1938 he won Time Magazine, an American publication, he won Time Magazine's Man of the Year award? Germany was awarded the Olympics just a few years before that. Hitler was actually seen worldwide as being something of a pioneer for science, and, you know, he was actually a quite respected guy. Some feared him, obviously, but it wasn't as black and white as this guy is the devil. But after the war, oh my God, this guy's the worst guy of all time. Notice how we never, or rarely, discuss Stalin in the same light as Hitler. Hitler is super bad and Stalin is not. And then Stalin was allied with those who won and Hitler lost, and the winners rewrite history. So it kind of fits into what I'm telling you here. What would have happened had Hitler won the war? How would we view him then? I'm betting that we would view him as some kind of hero who advanced science, who advanced the human race, and was one of the greatest guys of all time. He would have made sure, the Third Reich would have made sure that that was what history became. So history is shaped by certain people. The official story can change, and I find this hilarious because people's belief in the official story remains the same even though the story actually changes. Often it can change in a person's lifetime, and yet they will believe in the same official story in the same way. Let me give you an example of this. Before 1978, the Mormons believed that black people could go to heaven, but only as slaves. After 1978, through some kind of revelation, the Mormon church changed its stance and said that black people could go to heaven. Mormons believed in Mormonism just as much before and after 1978. Or how about the Buddha? Buddha was asked, hey, do you believe in God? And he said, well, I can't comment on things I can't know anything about God. I don't see him, So Buddha was basically an agnostic, and yet in Mahayana Buddhism, he's revered as a god. So they changed his position of agnosticism into one of basic theism, yet people follow this Mahayana Buddhism as fervently as any other form of Buddhism. I'll give you a last one. The founding fathers of the U.S., oftentimes they are portrayed as being the most noble, the most righteous, the most intelligent men of all times. They held slaves. They disrespected women, and for all of you out there who disagree with drug use, well, they grew hemp, so they probably knew what marijuana was and had probably smoked cannabis at least once in their life. They respected it, they grew it, they were farmers. So basically, what this comes down to is that for the official story, there's far too much emphasis on the word official and not enough emphasis on the word story. So, first of all, nothing is official. There is no official story. There is the best interpretation of an event that we have at this moment. But nothing makes it official. We have to remain open-minded at all times that new information could come and change our understanding of past historical events. Like, for the way we understand the dinosaurs, or the movement of atoms, or the movement of planets in the cosmos. We understand them now, but if new information comes up, then the official story will have to change and adjust. So there is no official. There's just the best that we have at this point. Again, the key is open-mindedness here. Secondly, there's not enough emphasis put on the word story. This is a story, and as any English teacher will tell you, any story is centered on a theme. And oftentimes what will happen in a story is that nuance is removed from the story. Details are removed from a story in order to get directly to the theme of the story. And I suggest that history succumbs to this very criteria. History is reshaped by the people who have written the history to make you understand or take from it a very specific thing. Oftentimes it serves to legitimize the power of those spreading the story in the first place.